Today's thought is when life puts you in tough situations, don't say why me, say try me. Good morning, students. Welcome back. I hope all of you are safe and fit at home, studying well, and completing your work on time. This video is for the students of class 8th, subject English. And today, in this video, we are going to cover one chapter of supplementary reader book, that is It So Happened. This is our chapter number 6 and the name of the chapter is The Fight. This is my lecture number 2 of the same chapter. This chapter is taken from It So Happened book. Students, today in this video we shall read main key points of part 2 and detailed explanation of this chapter. After then we shall discuss the homework solution of the homework which was given you in lecture number 1 of chapter 6, that is The Fight. So first of all, let us see what are the main key points of the chapter. At home, Ranji could not hide his injuries. His mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. Ranji reached the pool unwillingly next day. He was feeling weak and knew he would be beaten in another fight. Ranji dived straight into the water. He surfaced on the other side without a splash. The stranger boy exclaimed with surprise how he could dive so well. The two told their names to each other. Then the boy asked Ranji if he was not strong. Suraj proposed a deal. If Ranji taught him diving, he would make Ranji a Pahalwan too. Again Ranji agreed. Ranji said that nobody would dare to come there now because now they were friends. So these were the main key points of part 2. A question arises. Did the fight continue? If not, why not? And next day, the two claimants face each other across the pool. They threw challenges and counter challenges at each other. To know about this, let us read the chapter of part 2 line by line in detail. When Ranji got home, he found it difficult to explain the cuts and bruises that showed on his face, leg and arms. It was difficult to conceal fact that he had been in an unusually violent fight. Means, when Ranji reached his home, he found himself stuck in a situation where it became difficult for him to justify all the cuts, scratches and the injuries on his body. It became nearly impossible for him to hide that he had been in an uncommon rough fight. And his mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. Means, his mother commanded him to stay indoors for the remaining part of the day. That evening, though, he slipped out of the house and went to the bazaar, where he found comfort and solace. Solace means comfort or consolation in a time of great distress or sadness. In a bottle of vividly colored laminate. Vividly means in a way that produces powerful feeling or strong, clear images in the mind. And a banana leaf full of hot, sweet jalebis. Means, despite the instructions, he went out of the house stealthily to the bazaar in the evening. There he found comfort and consolation in the brightly colored lemonade and hot sweet jalebis that were served on a banana leaf. It was hot, very hot at that time of the year, and Ranji walked about in his vest and shorts, his brown feet white with the chalky dust that flew up from the ground. The earth was parched. Parched means hot and dry. The grass brown, the trees listless means lacking energy, hardly stirring, waiting for a cool wind or a refreshing shower of rain. Means it was extremely hot at that time of the year, which is why Ranji went out in his vest and shorts. As he walked on the ground, his brown feet turned white with the chalky dust that flew from the ground. The earth had dried or died or dried out with the heat. The grass had turned brown and the trees were spiritless as they waited for a chilly wind and a rain shower that would revive them. He had just finished the lemonade when he saw his adversary, means enemy, coming down the road. His first impulse was to turn away and look elsewhere. His second to throw the lemonade bottle at his enemy. But he did neither of these things. Instead, he stood his ground and scowled. Scowled means looked angrily at his passing adversary. And the warrior said nothing either but scowled back with equal ferocity. Ferocity means fierceness or immense anger or cruelty. Means, but he resisted and did not act upon his unreflective desires. He just stood there firmly as he stared angrily at his enemy. The warrior, too, on the other hand, passed by the fighter while giving him angry glances, backed by equal fierceness. The next day was as hot as previous one. Ranji felt weak and lazy and not at all eager for a fight. His body was stiff and sore after the previous day's encounter. Sore means painful or aching. Encounter means unexpectedly hostile or difficult situation, or we can say fight or argument. Means the temperature on the next day was just as high as the previous day. Ranji lacked the power and will to fight because he felt tired. His body was aching and he felt rigid because of the previous day's confrontation. Confrontation means fight or argument. But he could not refuse the challenge. Not to turn up at the pool would be an acknowledgement of defeat. From the way he felt just then, he knew he would be beaten in another fight. But he could not acquiesce. Acquiesce means accept quietly in his own defeat. Means despite feeling this way, he could not afford to back off from the challenge. If he did not go near the pool that day, it would mean that he had accepted his lose. He was well aware that if he fought in this condition, he would anyway end up losing in a violent fight. But he couldn't sit quietly and see himself lose. He must defy his enemy to the last or outwit him. Outwit means deceive by greater cleverness. For only then could he gain his respect. If he surrendered now, he would be beaten for all time. But to fight and be beaten today left him free to fight and be beaten again. As long as he fought, he had a right to the pool in the forest. Means, in order to gain respect, he needed to win against his opponent, or at least outsmart him, because if he gave up, it would mean that he has accepted his defeat for lifetime. But if he showed up and even got beaten up by the other boy or the other boy, it would set him free and he could fight again, even if it meant being beaten up once more. But he knew that as long as he showed up for the fight, he reserved himself a right to swim in the pool in the forest. He was half hoping that the warrior would have forgotten the challenge, but these hopes were dashed. Dashed means destroyed. Hopes or expectations when he saw his opponent sitting stripped. Stripped means without clothes to the waist on a rock on the other side of the pool. The warrior was rubbing oil on his body. Means, although Ranji was on his way to show up for the fight, he was half hoping in his mind that the other boy would have failed to remember about the challenge. Unfortunately, all expectations came crashing down when he caught sight of his enemy sitting naked till the waist on a rock on the other side of the pool. He was rubbing oil on his body as he prepared himself for the fight. He saw Ranji beneath the sal trees and called a challenge across the waters of the pool. "Come over on this side and fight," he shouted. But Ranji was not going to submit to any conditions laid down by his opponent. "Come this side and fight," he shouted back with equal vigor. Vigor means strength. "Swim across and fight me here," called the other. "Or perhaps you cannot swim the length of this pool, can you?" Means, he saw Ranji underneath the sal trees and challenged him from right across the pool. The strange boy shouted from the other side and told Ranji to come over to this or his side and fight. Ranji wasn't going to surrender to the conditions that were being laid down by his enemy. Thus, he replied with equal strength and told him to come to his side instead. The other boy asked him to swim across and fight with him. He even mocked Ranji by indicating that he was not coming to the other side because he cannot swim the length of the pool. But Ranji could have swum the length of the pool a dozen times without tiring, and here he would show the warrior his superiority. So, slipping out of his vest, he dived straight into the water, cutting through it like a knife and surfaced with hardly a splash. So here the meaning of dive is plunge head first into water with one's arms raised over one's head. Means, Ranji could actually swim the length of the pool multiple times without even getting tired. Thus, he thought of showing the warrior his excellence. He removed his vest and dived right into the pool, cutting through it like a knife and came smoothly onto the surface. The warrior's mouth hung open in amazement. "You can dive," he exclaimed. "It is easy," said Ranji. "Treading water." Treading water means keeping oneself upright in deep water by moving the feet. Waiting for a further challenge. "Can't you dive?" "No," said the other. I jump straight in, but if you will tell me how I will make a dive. Means the warrior's jaw dropped in surprise. He remarked, "You can dive." Ranji told him that it was quite simple. While keeping himself upright in the water by moving his feet, Ranji asked the other boy if he could not dive. The strange boy replied that he couldn't and used to jump right into the pool. He asked Ranji if he could teach him how to dive. "It is easy," said Ranji. "Stand on the rock, stretch your arms out and allow your head to displace your feet." The warrior stood up, stiff and straight, stretched out his arms and threw himself into the water. Means Ranji told him that it was quite easy. He only needed to stand on the rock, stretch his arms out and allow his head to displace his feet. The warrior did just as the fighter had suggested. He stood up stiff and straight, stretched out his arms and threw himself into the water. He landed flat on his belly with a crash that sent the birds screaming out of the trees. Ranji dissolved into laughter. Dissolved means break into. "Are you trying to empty the pool?" he asked. The warrior came to the surface, spouting water like a small whale. Spouting means sent out liquid forcibly in a stream. Means unfortunately he landed straight on his belly, causing a collision that scared away the birds as they came out of the trees screaming. This made Ranji laugh uncontrollably. Ranji mocked him and asked if his intention was to empty the pool. It was only then that the warrior came back to the surface of the pool and splashed water out of his mouth like a small whale. "Wasn't it good?" asked the boy, evidently proud of his feat. Feat means clever act or special skill. "Not very good," said Ranji. "You should have more practice. See, I will do it again." And pulling himself up on a rock, he executed another perfect dive. Means the boy was quite proud of the way he performed the dive. He wanted to know what Ranji thought about it and asked him if he wasn't good according to him. Ranji told him that it was not that good and that he needed more practice. He told the warrior to observe him doing it again. He came out of the water, stood on the rock, and performed another flawless dive. The other boy waited for him to come up, but swimming underwater, Ranji circled him and came upon him from behind. "How did you do that?" asked the astonished youth. Astonished means greatly surprised or impressed or amazed. "Can't you swim underwater?" asked Ranji. "No, but I will try it." Means the strange boy waited for him to come up on the surface while Ranji moved around him in a circle and then finally showed up from behind him. The other boy was amazed and asked Ranji how he did it. Ranji asked the boy if he did not also know how to swim underwater. The boy told him he couldn't, but he was definitely willing to give it a try. The warrior made a tremendous effort to plunge. Plunge means jump. to the bottom of the pool, and indeed he thought he had gone right down, though his bottom, like a duck's, remained above surface. Ranji, however, did not discourage him. Means, thus, he gathered all his strength and went to the bottom of the pool. And while the warrior thought that he had made straight away to the bottom, his bottom had remained above the surface like a duck. Ranji did not want to discourage him. It was not bad, he said, but you need a lot of practice. Will you teach me? Asked his enemy. If you like, I will teach you. You must teach me. If you don't teach me, I will beat you. Will you come here every day and teach me? If you like, said Ranji. Means, so he told him it was not bad, but he still needed a lot of practice. The other boy asked Ranji if he would teach him. Ranji told him that he would if he was willing to learn. The boy told him that in fact Ranji must teach him, and if he didn't, he would get beaten up. He asked Ranji if he would come to the pool daily to teach him. Ranji said that he would, if he would like. They had pulled themselves out of the water and were sitting side by side on a smooth grey rock. My name is Suraj, said the warrior. What is yours? It is Ranji. I am strong, am I not? Asked Suraj, bending his arm so that a ball of muscle stood up, stretching the white of his flesh. You are strong, said Ranji. You are a real Pahalwan. Means, both of them got out of the water and sat by each other's side on a smooth grey rock. The warrior introduced himself as Suraj and asked his opponent's name. Ranji told him his name. Suraj said that he was strong and asked Ranji what he had to say about it as he bent his arm in a tightened way so that his muscles stood out, stretching out of his white flesh. Ranji told him that he was strong. Indeed, he told Suraj that he was a real Pahalwan. Pahalwan means wrestler. One day I will be the world's champion wrestler, said Suraj, slapping his thighs, which shook with the impact of his hand. He looked critically at Ranji's hard, thin body. You are quite strong yourself, he conceded. Conceded means admitted. But you are too bony. I know you people don't eat enough. You must come and have your food with me. I drink one share of milk every day. Share means same of seed, a unit of weight used previously in India. We have got our own cow. Means, while slapping his thighs, which shook with its impact, Suraj exclaimed that he will become the world's champion wrestler one day. He stared at Ranji's thin and hard body with judging eyes and told him that he was also strong but also very bony and thin. Suraj said that he knew it was because he didn't eat enough. He further invited Ranji to have food with him sometime and see how he used to drink one seer or share of milk every day. He told Ranji about their own cow. Be my friend and I will make you a Pahalwan like me. I know if you teach me to dive and swim underwater, I will make you a Pahalwan. That is fair, isn't it? That is fair, said Ranji, though he doubted if he was getting the better of the exchange. Or the exchange. Means he offered to help Ranji become a Pahalwan too if Ranji agreed to become his friend. Suraj said that if Ranji would teach him how to dive and swim underwater, he would help Ranji become as strong as a wrestler. He asked Ranji if it was fair. Ranji agreed that it was fair, although he doubted if he was getting more benefit out of it. Suraj put his arm around the younger boy and said, "We are friends now." Yes. They looked at each other with honest, unflinching eyes. Unflinching means without blinking, looking straight at each other. And in that moment, love and understanding were born. "We are friends," said Ranji. Means Suraj put his arm around Ranji and asked him if they were friends. Now, they looked into each other's eyes with complete honesty and without blinking. At that particular moment, love and understanding emerged between the two. Ranji replied that they were friends. Indeed. The birds had settled again in their branches and the pool was quiet and limpid. Limpid means clear in the shade of sal trees. "It is our pool," said Suraj. "Nobody else can come here without our permission." "Who would dare? Who would dare?" said Ranji, smiling with the knowledge that he had won the day. Means by that time, the birds that were scared away had come back to the branches, and the pool was still and clear under the shade of the sal trees. Suraj exclaimed that from now onwards it was their pool, and no one else could use it without their permission. He said, "Who would dare?" Ranji repeated after him in agreement, "Who would dare?" as he smiled with the thought that he had conquered the day. So, this was the story of part 2. Students, you have to complete your homework on the basis of the chapter explained by me. And your homework is read chapter 6, that is The Fight, and write word meanings mentioned in the video. Based on the understanding of the chapter, write the answers of the questions mentioned in the book It So Happened As. Page number 53 and 54, comprehension check, question number 1 to 8. Students, you have to complete these questions in your English Fair notebook. So now let us see word meanings which you have to do in your English Fair notebook. Number 1 is scout. Number 2 is vigor. Number 3 is feet. Number 4 is limpid. Number 5 is considered. Now let us see questions of comprehension check which is on page number 53 and 54. Question number 1 is, what is it that Ranji finds difficult to explain at home? Question number 2 is, Ranji sees his adversary in the bazaar. Part 1, what does he wish to do? Part 2, what does he actually do and why? Question number 3 is, Ranji is not at all eager for a second fight. Why does he go back to the pool then? Question number 4 is, who was the better swimmer? How do you know it? Question number 5 is, what surprises the warrior? Question number 6 is, Now that they are at the pool, why don't they continue the fight or continue the fight? Question number 7 is Ranji's superiority over the other boy is obvious in the following: physical strength, good diving, his being a fighter, sense of humor, swimming under water, making a good point, willingness to help. Underline the relevant phrases. Dear students, you have to complete this question in your book only. Question number 8 is what according to you make the two adversaries turn into good friends in a matter of minutes? Explain it as you have understood it. Dear students, now we shall discuss homework solution of the homework which was assigned you in lecture number 1 of chapter 6, that is the fight. Students, I have already explained you detailed summary or explanation of part 1 along with word meanings in our previous video. As I assigned you homework which was to be done by you on the basis of your understanding, and your homework was read chapter 6, that is the fight, and write word meanings mentioned in the video. Based on the understanding of the chapter, write the answers of the questions mentioned in the book. It so happened as page number 49, comprehension check, question number 1 to 4. Now let us discuss meanings of the words which were assigned you in the homework. Number 1 is parched, means hot and dry. Number 2 is trickle, means weak or thin flow of water. Number 3 is quench, means cool, means his body. Number 4 is muster, means use, collect or gather. Number 5 is tremendous, means great. So these were the word meanings of part 1. Students, now let us discuss the answers of the questions of comprehension check which is on page number 49 in detail. Question number 1 is, in what way is the forest pool different from the one which Ranji knew in the Rajputana desert? The answer of the question is, Ranji used to live with his parents in a thirsty town in the middle of the Rajputana desert. There he had known only sticky, muddy pools where buffaloes wallowed and women washed clothes. He had never seen a pool like this, so clean and cold and inviting as it was in the forest. Question number 2 is, the other boy asked Ranji to explain himself. Part 1 is, what did he expect Ranji to say? The answer of the question is, the other boy expected Ranji to apologize for entering the pool without his permission. Further, he wanted Ranji to never use the pool again. Part 2 is, was he, in your opinion, right or wrong to ask this question? The answer of the question is, in my opinion, it was wrong on the part of the boy to ask Ranji this question. This is because the pool belonged to the forest and was open for use by everyone. He had no right to claim it as his. Question number 3 is, between Ranji and the other boy who is trying to start a quarrel, give a reason for your answer. The answer of the question is, between Ranji and the other boy, it was the other boy who was trying to initiate a quarrel with Ranji. On seeing Ranji, the other boy gave him hostile looks, while Ranji's first thought was to be friendly with him. Ranji even invited the strange boy to swim with him, while on the other hand, the strange boy refused to do so. He told Ranji that the pool belonged to him and he swam alone in it. He even threatened to beat Ranji if he didn't run away. Question number 4 is, then we will have to continue the fight, said the other. Part 1. What made him say that? The answer of the question is, when both Ranji and the other boy fought for a long while, Ranji refused to leave the pool and the fight did not ended with any results. When that boy saw that Ranji did not accept defeat and was not listening to his words, he said that the fight between them will continue the following day. Part 2 is, did the fight continue? If not, why not? The answer of the question is no. The fight did not continue. It is because both of them were tired after that day's quarrel. They were breathing heavily and their heartbeats were speeding. Although they had not come to a solution, both of them decided to continue the fight the following day. So that's all for today. This is the end of the lecture. Students, if you like our videos, please hit on the like button and don't forget to subscribe our channel. Thank you and have a nice day.